somewhere beneath a U.S. aircraft carrier, while jets scream off the flight deck and 5,000 sailors run the most visible military operation on the planet, something smaller is moving through the dark water below something with no pilot, no crew, and no name most Americans have ever heard. It costs more than most houses, it can run for 30 hours straight on a single charge. And its only job is to find the one thing that has killed and crippled more U.S. Navy ships over the last 50 years than missiles, torpedoes, and aircraft combined. It doesn't fire a shot. It doesn't make headlines. But without it, that carrier, 100,000 tons of American steel, could be stopped cold by a device that costs less than a used pickup truck. Ever heard of a Navy robot that hunts bombs on the ocean floor without anyone touching a joystick? Comment yes or no and stick around, because by the end of this video you'll understand why these machines might be the most important things nobody talks about on a carrier deck. The United States operates 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, more than any other nation on Earth. And for decades, the story of carrier power has been told through jets. The roar of an F/A-18 catapulting off the deck, the precision of an arrested landing, the sheer spectacle of 90 aircraft launching and recovering around the clock. That story is real, but it's also incomplete because it leaves out an entire layer of the Carrier Strike Group's mission that happens underwater, out of sight, and almost never makes it into a recruiting commercial. A Carrier Strike Group doesn't sail alone. It moves as a formation which includes destroyers, cruisers, supply ships, submarines, all built around the carrier at the center, and before that formation can move into a contested area, somebody has to answer a question that sounds simple and isn't: is the water underneath us safe? Because in the last half-century, mines have caused more damage to U.S. naval forces than missile, torpedo, or air attacks combined. A weapon that can cost a few $1,000s has again and again done more damage to American warships than the most expensive guided munitions ever built by an enemy. That's the threat the Navy doesn't put on recruiting posters. And it's the threat that a quiet fleet of unmanned underwater vehicles, or UUVs, exists to deal with. What makes this story harder to tell than a flight deck story is that almost none of it happens where a camera can reach. A catapult launch is loud, fast, and over in seconds, and it photographs beautifully. A UUV mission can take an entire day. Most of it spent with the vehicle completely out of contact, somewhere below the thermocline, running a search pattern that looks on the screen back on deck like almost nothing happening at all. There's no countdown, no fireball, no moment that translates into 30 of footage. And yet that slow, invisible, unglamorous mission is often the single most important thing standing between a carrier strike group and a very bad day. The Navy has a name for the moment these machines roll off the deck of a ship and disappear beneath the waves. What happens next is something most Americans have never seen footage of, and the reason is simpler than you think. The silent hunters, what these machines actually do. This is the REMUS 300, one of the workhorse UUVs in the American fleet, and the numbers behind it explain why the Navy likes it so much. It can run counter-mine missions down to 1,000 feet using side-scan sonar to locate and classify mine-like objects. Depending on the battery pack, it can operate for 10, 20, or 30 hours, cover up to roughly 89 nautical miles, and it's small enough, making it easier for 2 people to move it without a crane. When it surfaces, technicians pull a removable hard drive carrying a full terabyte of seafloor data, essentially a complete photographic survey of ground no human diver would ever want to swim across blind. Now multiply that by a strike group. Before a carrier pushes into a strait, a harbor approach, or any stretch of water where an adversary might have seeded mines, these UUVs go out ahead of everything else, ahead of the destroyers, ahead of the carrier itself, and quietly build a picture of what's actually down there. It's unglamorous. It's slow. And it's the difference between a carrier strike group sailing through with confidence and a carrier strike group finding out the hard way that the water wasn't as empty as it looked. There's a reason this matters more now than it used to. Modern sea mines aren't the rusty spiked balls people picture from old war movies. Many of today's versions sit on the bottom, look like nothing more than debris or rock to a casual sonar sweep, and can be programmed to wait for a specific type of ship before activating. Finding them isn't a matter of looking for something obviously dangerous, it's a matter of telling the difference between 1,000 harmless objects on the seafloor and the one that isn't harmless. That's a sorting job done patiently over and over, and it's exactly the kind of repetitive, detail-heavy work a machine can do for 30 hours without getting tired, bored, or careless. Finding a mine is only half the job. The other half is making it stop being a mine, and for that, the Navy built something with a far more aggressive name: the Barracuda, America's underwater bomb squad. This is where the mission gets a name that actually sounds like what it does. Once a sonar system has detected and classified a mine, the Barracuda UUV is sent in to neutralize it, navigating autonomously through the underwater terrain and carrying an explosive charge designed specifically to destroy that mine. The robot goes into the kill zone. The sailor stays on deck, watching a screen. This is the part of carrier operations that almost never gets filmed, because there's nothing visually dramatic about a torpedo-shaped robot sinking into murky water and not coming back. No explosion you can see from the flight deck. No fireball for the highlight reel. Just a quiet confirmation hours later that a stretch of ocean that used to be a question mark is now a stretch of ocean the carrier can sail through. Every one of these missions that ends quietly, with a robot reporting back that a stretch of water is clear, is a mission where nobody's son or daughter had to swim down and find out the hard way. That's not a small thing. Not just mines, the eyes under the fleet. Mine hunting is the mission the Navy talks about openly. Because it's defensive and it's easy to justify, nobody objects to a robot that keeps sailors away from bombs. But the same basic technology, a self-navigating vehicle that can map the seafloor and carry sensors, has obvious uses that go well beyond mines, and the Navy has been steadily expanding into them. General Dynamics, one of the major builders in this space, makes a whole family of these vehicles for missions described plainly as intelligence gathering, mine hunting, scientific exploration, and ship hole inspection. Some of these UUVs can dive to depths of 14,000 feet while collecting data from the ocean floor, which is deeper than most of the world's submarines will ever go. They're designed to be deployed from submarines, surface ships, or even two-person teams, which means the same basic toolkit that clears a path for a carrier strike group can also be quietly surveying a stretch of seafloor that an adversary might consider their own backyard. And the Navy isn't standing still on this. Programs like General Dynamics' Bluefin series and Northrop Grumman's Manta Ray are being tested for reconnaissance, ship hull inspection, and mine countermeasures, and the direction is clearly toward bigger, longer endurance vehicles that can stay out for weeks rather than hours. Some of these designs are even built to refuel themselves on the seafloor and keep going. These are autonomous machines on missions that last longer than most sailors' deployments. Hull inspection sounds like the least exciting item on that list, and in some ways it is, but it matters more than it sounds. A diver checking a carrier's hull for damage, sabotage, or attached devices is slow, limited by depth and time, and puts a person in the water next to a 100,000-ton ship. A UUV does the same job faster, more thoroughly, and without putting anyone at risk. It's the kind of mission that never makes a headline precisely because it's working. The day a carrier's hull inspection becomes news is the day something has already gone badly wrong. Why the Navy keeps this quiet and why that's the point. Here's the thing about underwater warfare that makes it different from everything else the Navy does. The ocean is opaque. A jet on a flight deck can be photographed by satellite. A destroyer's radar signature can be tracked. But what's happening 200,000 feet below the surface is genuinely hard to see, and that's exactly the advantage the United States has spent decades building. Every detail about how these UUVs are deployed, how long they can stay down, what they can detect, and how they talk to the ships above them is operational information that an adversary would very much like to have. The combination of submarines and surface ships dominating the ocean has been the foundation of sea power for centuries. And the country that understands the seafloor best, without an adversary knowing how, holds a quiet advantage that doesn't show up in any ship count comparison. And these comparisons have gotten more competitive than a lot of Americans realize. China has built a larger navy by total ship numbers than the United States, including 3 aircraft carriers and 75 submarines, with much of that fleet constructed since 2010. Numbers like that get attention. But numbers don't tell you what's underneath the water, what's mapped, what's been quietly surveyed, and what an 11-carrier navy with decades of UUV development can do in waters a newer fleet has never had reason to study. The United States didn't get to 11 carriers and keep them globally deployable by accident, and a lot of what keeps that machine running never gets a press release. It just gets a budget line, a contract award, and a quiet test in open water that nobody outside the program ever hears about. That's also why so much of this stays unclassified but unpublicized rather than fully secret. The Navy isn't hiding that UUVs exist. Anyone can look up knife a fish or REMUS. What stays quiet is the operational picture, which carrier strike groups are using which vehicles, where, and for how long. Outfitting battle groups with these relatively small but capable technologies lets them clear dangerous water on their own, so the rest of the force can move forward without waiting. That's not a secret weapon in the dramatic sense. It's a quiet multiplier, the kind of thing that makes an 11-carrier Navy function like it has more ships than it does. Because each strike group can clear its own path instead of waiting for someone else to do it. There's also a simple, very American reason this whole approach makes sense, it's cheaper, and it keeps people alive. A UUV that costs a few $100,000 and takes a hit from a mine is a budget line item. A sailor who takes that same hit is a name on a memorial wall and a family that gets a knock on the door. Every dollar spent on these quiet, unglamorous robots is a dollar spent making sure that knock on the door happens less often, and that's a trade the US Navy has been willing to make again and again, even when nobody's watching and nobody's filming. Closing, strip away the jets, the catapults, the 5,000-person crew, and the 100,000-ton hull, and a carrier strike group's actual advantage often comes down to something this small and this unglamorous, a torpedo-sized robot that can survey miles of seafloor on its own, find the one object that's been quietly killing American ships for 50 years, and either mark it or destroy it without putting a single sailor in that water. It's not the part of carrier life anyone puts in a recruiting commercial. There's no footage of a UUV doing anything that looks dramatic on camera. It just goes down, does its job in the dark, and comes back up with a hard drive full of data that tells the rest of the strike group it's safe to move forward. That's the whole story. No explosion, no dogfight, just a machine doing the most dangerous job on the ocean so nobody else has to. And that's worth sitting with for a second. The country that figured out how to do this quietly, reliably, and at scale across 11 carrier strike groups isn't doing it because it makes for good television. It's doing it because it works, and because the sailors who used to do this job by hand, in the dark, next to live explosives, are the reason anyone bothered to build something better in the first place. Every one of those robots rolling off the deck of an American ship is, in a very real sense, standing in for someone who used to have to do that job themselves, and that's a trade worth being proud of. What surprised you more? That mines have done more damage to the Navy than missiles and torpedoes combined, or that these robots are out there working right now without anyone talking about it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.